Welcome, everybody. It's Alyssum from Awaken Authenticity, and I'm so glad that you could make it today. I am very excited to share with you my new friend, Ethony. She is a tarot reader, and the reason that I have her on this series today is because every single time she starts a presentation, she starts it with, "Take what resonates with you and leave the rest." And I just love that. That's one of the things that to me just says so much about respecting each and every person's authenticity. And yeah, so this is the first time that I've been following Ethony for a really long time, and I've been enjoying tarot jams with her and this sort of thing, but this is the first time I'm actually having a conversation with her. So thank you, Ethony, for joining us.
Oh, thank you for, internet stalking me. No, I'm just joking. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored.
Yay. So I wanted to ask you to give an introduction to yourself about who you are, your background, how you show up in the world, and what's important to you.
Cool. So I'm a tarot reader, as you're saying. I'm the headmistress of the Tarot Readers Academy, where we have some pretty rad stuff. And I think if you drill down to if you went down deep into what it is, I'm a creator and I'm a writer. I've been writing since I can even remember. I've got journals from when I was 11 years old up until now. I've always loved to, and I love to paint, and I love to basically sing, bake, anything that's creating. I'm like fucking all about it. So tarot for me melds the love of art and the love of creation with the love of writing and the love of my spirituality, which is very dear to me, to my heart as well. So I had a son 3.5 years ago, and I moved country, but I moved from working face to face and in the corporate world mostly, and I just went 100% online into my tarot business, which I'd been working on for years while I was still in the corporate world. And now I do YouTube videos, and I'm on Instagram, and I create spreads and hold space for people to have discussions about tarot and about their spirituality, and write like a banshee most of the time.
Yeah, thank you for offering all of that, and I'll include links below to all of your connecting places. And I wanted to ask you about what it was like to grow up being you've mentioned in other places online that you were kind of like the witchy woo-woo girl, and what was that like, and how did you come out, so to speak? And tell me a little bit about that process of sort of like owning who it is that you are.
Yeah, I've always been, when I came out, I was out. I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I was born, so I always say this, like, I was born with I had gastroschisis. Do not Google image that. And I'm sorry if you go, what is that? And it's gross. I have my insides on the outside. I had a 20% chance of survival. It's much better now, but they didn't do scans back in the early 80s. They didn't do scans on women, and it was just like, surprise. So my soul was not here to mess around. I was very, very, very capable at a young age of speaking to adults. I've always been very extroverted. I've been very opinionated, and that, when you go to school, is not met very nicely. I was always a fey child. I always see things, hear things, sense things. I would speak for my sister a lot of the time. My younger sister, who was quite shy, not anymore. She was. I could have trained her not to be. And so I think like I didn't even, my spirituality, I came out of the broom closet when I was like 15, when my mum found my witchy stuff hiding under my bed. And I came from thankfully, a very good household, a very liberal household, where They were very good about it. They've come to events. They support me still to this day in everything that I do. They're very proud of who I am as a person. So I'm very lucky. I know that's not been everyone's experience when they have to say, hey, I'm a bit different, you know, whether that's with who they love or what they believe, or both, as you know, many of the cases are. But yeah, it was hard. So for anyone who's like got children who are going through school or watching this and they've got kids who, like, I was bullied in primary school, which is elementary school, and middle school for North America, if you have that. I was bullied pretty badly because I was weird. I was good at school. Like I said, I could talk fluently to people, adults, with no problem. I was very assertive. But then I found a really great group of people in high school, or what you would call senior high. And I was a band geek. My band geek friends, I'm still friends with them to this day. I was in academic talent programs, and I found people there. So I found my tribe, and then I had to go create my tribe. I had to go be out in the world and be like, come do witchcraft with me, and then have people come to me, and those who resonated stayed. But a lot of it was just putting myself out there and having a family that was very good at building my self-esteem up so that I could do that, and be confident and comfortable to do that in the world, if that makes sense. But so it gets better, but it can be hard if you're a bit of a big mouth like me.
Yeah. So I also was a weirdo for different reasons growing up, and was bullied, and like a boy set my hair on fire at one point in middle school, and like pretty serious bullying. But I, like you, was lucky to have supportive parents and a thick skin, I guess. Was that sort of how you dealt with it as well? Thick skin, or is there like more to it, or is that something that you kind of took from? Is there anything from your bullying experiences that you have taken into your adulthood that have been helpful?
I was a really sensitive soul for a long time, really, until I started working in the corporate world. Really sensitive, wouldn't watch. I mean, I still won't watch stuff that I know is going to trigger me, or it's going to stay with me. So I cried a lot. There was lots of tears. There was lots of support from my parents. There were a lot of tears. I read, I created, I channeled a lot of that into being a creator, and enjoying that. But when I got to the corporate world, that taught me how to have a thick skin. And now I have a very thick skin. I mean, if you're on the internet and you're somewhat even remotely known in your field, you're going to get some very interesting messages, and that used to really affect me. And there are days when, like, if it's a bad day, then I'll be like, oh, that's not very nice. But most of the time I'm just like, meh, water for duck's back. Like, I'm like, that is not my problem. And not to be an asshole about it. It's just that, like, I don't have to take on someone's abusive crap. Like, but it was the corporate world that really, I worked for really hardcore people, and that taught me how to be like, this is not actually about me. And I need to learn how to deal with that.
Right. No, I think that that's like the biggest lesson that some people get to learn, I suppose, is that fact that it's when someone is saying something mean to you, it's much, much more a reflection of them than anything about you. And that's not an easy lesson to learn, but it's an important one.
Yeah, because it hurts all the same. Pain doesn't care, right? Pain doesn't care that it's not about you, and pain doesn't care that they're hurting, and your inner child doesn't care that they've got a lesson to learn and you've got a lesson to learn. Your inner child and your pain just hurts. So the way that you got to move forward from that is by not bottling that up, because that's just bad, and processing it, and then channeling that into something that is going to make you feel good, and surrounding yourself as much as you can with things and people that make you feel good. Listen to music that makes you feel good. My parents had me meditating from a young age. I had crystals from a young age to help me, because I would replay horrible events from my day while I was trying to go to sleep. So they bought me guided meditations when I was very young to help me sleep. So it's just doing as much as you can to keep it positive, because that's all you can control. Because pain doesn't care, which is one of the hard things about that lesson. Like, as you well know, if you've had that experience.
Yeah, definitely. And how awesome are your parents? Oh my gosh, that's really super supportive.
Yeah, they're pretty freaking rad. I'm very, very lucky.
So tell me more about your, well, I want to talk more about being in the corporate world. I think it's really, so many people have jobs that they don't necessarily like, or they don't feel like they can be themselves in these jobs. And sometimes it's a matter of just realizing that there is a choice and that you don't have to be in the job. But then sometimes sometimes it's we find ourselves in these places and we don't know how to get out, and it might be a long time before we really see what other option we legitimately have.
Totally.
How did you navigate that? I mean, it sounds like you quit your job when you had your son. Is that right? And was that the motivating factor, or how did that transition come around?
For a long time, I didn't love what I was doing. For a long time, even when I was in Australia, I was very good at it, but I didn't love it. I can legitimately say I had my heart broken a couple of times through just putting my heart and soul into work and having projects taken away or cancelled, or people betray you as they do in workplaces, and so, but I worked for a very, very long time in the corporate industry. And when I moved to Canada, I went back to work in the corporate world, and I had a job and I hated it. I came home nearly every day crying when I was pregnant. Just like, I hate my job so much, because I couldn't find anything that was like what I was doing in Australia either. So it was kind of like a step back as well, which I guess my ego didn't like, but it was very heavy on sales. And I hate that like pushy kind of, I hate that. Like, if there's anything that's further from who I want to be, it's that. I was like, I hated it. Came home and cried every day. And then, I was really inspired by a lot of women online who were like doing their thing. And I was like, well, all my clients who I used to do readings for and do workshops with, and my coven was all in Australia. So I have to move this all online. Otherwise I'm not going to be able to like see anybody. So when he was born, and I thankfully live in a country that has paid maternity leave, I worked when I wasn't breastfeeding. Like I'd be breastfeeding my son, and I'd be writing blog posts. I'd be breastfeeding my son. And when he was sleeping, I would try and get some sleep, but I would be working otherwise, because I just spent as much, well, for the first 3 months, let's face it, as a mum, you don't get any freaking sleep. So I just did whatever I could to like just get through that while I was full-time breastfeeding. But after that, I slowly started to work, and I used like that 9 months to really go for it. And I say to people that you need to give yourself a couple of years, hey, like of just really doing your thing. And whether that means you have to keep the side hustle. Like there's no shame in the game. Better to do that than rack up so much debt you can't cope with it, and then you would have to go back to that job anyway. But my son was my deciding factor of like, and the fact that I moved was just like, okay, it's good timing. So but yeah, I spent like over nearly 18 years in the corporate world. So
and so for somebody who is as outspoken, and you embody yourself so strongly, I can't even imagine you working a job for so long that you didn't love, especially sales things in particular. I mean, how does an authentic person find themselves in such a mismatched situation?
Yeah, I had no idea either. Like that one was a real, not a misstep, because the blessing from that was that I was able to get paid maternity leave, because I was looking for other work before I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, oh shoot, I got to stay where I am, because I can't leave.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that to a new employer either, and he was a happy miracle, so it wasn't like it was a planned escape either. I very much loved what I was doing in Australia, in the sense that I got to build teams. So a lot of what I was doing was as a recruitment manager. and as a HR personnel, was I would sit with managers in my business and hire new people. I built my own teams. I put procedures in place. I did presentations and hired. I mean, we were hiring thousands of people a year. So I loved that because I got to do a lot of really cool stuff. I got to travel a ton. So that fed a very different part of I'm a Gemini, I've got many sides, but a very different part of me that really enjoys the camaraderie and like building teams and working with people, and working for a company that has vision and all that kind of stuff. And then that ended, and I moved, and so then I couldn't find anything, so I took what I could find. But it was for me, that sales job was soul crushing in the last 3 months of it, when I literally couldn't really give any more of myself. They put me on, because I was hospitalized a couple of times in my pregnancy. They put me on lesser duties so I could do more admin stuff and be a help that way and not have to do the hard sales stuff. So it was a real kind of a blip, but again, the blessing of that, when I look back and go, the blessing was that I got the paid maternity leave and I got to stay home with my son. So
yeah, we sometimes we don't know what we're going to have. Lessons can come in all different forms, and blessings can too.
Totally. Yep.
Okay, so I wanted to talk also about, you're a writer, and you mentioned at one point that, tell us about your 10th grade English teacher.
Oh, my 10th grade English teacher. I wonder if anyone's going to watch this and be like, my poor kids at school. They're getting bullied. She just got bullied. And this is not to say like to be a sob story. This is just a little tale just to like not let bitches get you down. So my 10th grade English teacher, I was debating whether I was going to take, in Australia, you can take TEE subjects, tertiary education subjects, which will get you into university. And I was really wondering whether I should do it or not, because I'm terrible at exam atmospheres, although sometimes I do tend to nail them, but I don't like that pressure because I procrastinate too. So I'm not very good at that. And I'm not a maths person. Like, I'm not a maths person. I will openly admit that too. So I was really struggling with higher mathematics, like trigonometry and all that, and algebra, like it just in one ear and out the other. So I was like, I don't know what to do. So I talked to my 10th grade English teacher, and she said, don't do it. She said, don't take the TE English. You will fail. You're just not good enough. And I took that on board. I really that hurt. Like, I was like, damn, why are you going to be so mean? And then when I did actually take my entrance exam for university, I got 93.7% on my English exam, both written and multiple choice. So I was like, I just wanted to I photocopy it and send it to her and be like, so I guess, and now I'm a professional writer, and my writing is not I write a blog, and it's very conversational, and I write have written my guidebooks to my decks, but I do have my book coming out next year with a major publisher. So it's almost like I've done this complete so when people try to sidetrack you from being who you are and doing what you want to do, know that even if your grammar is as shitty as mine is, and it's not even shitty, it's just that I speak so quickly and I type so fast that I tend to just say things out of order or type things out of order. It just takes a couple of seconds to go back and fix it. And now I know that, in 10th grade, I was like, whatever. But so yeah, just don't let bitches get you down, I would say.
That's awesome. Congratulations on your book. Tell us more about that.
So yeah, that was very exciting. I basically went to the Northwest Tarot Symposium in Portland this year, which I'm going to go to again next year. It was very, very good fun. And I did a talk on the tarot court and how I see the tarot court, which is a different way of looking at the tarot court. And someone from Llewellyn, was a very well-known person from Llewellyn, was sitting in the front row. I had no idea. I've never met this person in my life. And they came up to me afterwards and said, have you put your, and I said, oh, this is a book that I'm writing. And she said, have you put your book to us? And I said, no, I haven't. So I was in talks with a couple of publishers, but I ultimately went with Llewellyn, and they've been so professional and amazing ever since. So I have a deadline in a month. My manuscript is going to be finished and over to them. I'm nearly done. So it'll be out next year, and I'm a bit terrified, but I'm very excited.
I'm very excited for you. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So speaking of tarot, everybody that I have worked with that reads tarot has a slightly different take on it. And for people who aren't familiar with tarot, people come to the table with certain expectations and oftentimes misunderstanding of what tarot is or can be. My own personal take is that every card in tarot has wisdom to share. And so even if you are like 100% scientific human being, it's still something that can provide the beginning for a conversation that you wouldn't necessarily have otherwise. And so that's my personal take. If you'd like to share your take, that's cool.
Sure.
Would you like to?
I love the tarot. I think the tarot is like I love it. I could talk about it all day. I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face and I got no more words left. I love it from that point of view, that it gives us multiple angles to look at through lenses through. And I totally agree. No matter what card it is, every card has got a message to share with us and some wisdom to share with us. I love it from a artistic perspective, that you have thousands of artists from around the world have tackled these 78 cards and have come up with some of the most amazing artwork. So it pushes us forward culturally that way. We've had in the last 30 years have had the psychology come into the tarot with the depths of the different meanings and tapping into our own emotional intelligence. We've got the intuitive side to tarot, which is something that I do every day. Mm-hmm. Working with our inner voices, our inner knowing, and our higher selves to look at possibilities and potentials. And kind of the way that I see it is that we cast ourselves out down roads and we see what the most likely outcome will be, and we put ourselves in that to see if that's something that feels good for ourselves. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I absolutely, it's a reflection of our culture, and it's becoming more diverse, which is fucking finally, it's doing all this amazing stuff, and it's becoming more mainstream. And it's just, even if it's just a beautiful way to sit at the end of the day or the beginning of the day and just center yourself and give yourself 5 minutes, or whether you're coming to it for some guidance and some reassurance that you're on the right track. I absolutely, yes, there's 78 pieces of cards, but they are 78 amazing pieces of cards.
Yeah. It's incredible to me how inclusive just 78 cards can be of human experience. And that's another thing that I really appreciate. I love how you said that about the art of tarot furthering our culture. I think that that's really insightful and definitely something that I appreciated about it too. I was wondering, as someone who reads tarot, I feel like tarot readers often play the part of a coach or therapist in some way. And so you have a much more in-depth and personal connection to the pulse of people at a deeper level than maybe your average Joe on the street. And when it comes to authenticity, I think that my experience reading tarot has been that people are much more willing to say things at the tarot table than they are in regular conversation, even with close friends. I was wondering if you would mind sharing some of the things that you have noticed yourself about authenticity from the perspective of someone who sees people in these more vulnerable places?
I think like and I found the same thing, and I feel like it's almost like the Halloween complex. Like we get to dress up in like all the inhibitions go when you're hiding behind a mask or you're putting on a costume and you can kind of act the way you really want to. So I for sure I think I've seen or heard of just about everything, good, bad, and ugly. And a lot of the time for authenticity, I really feel as though it's if people come to the tarot and are giving themselves the space to see themselves really for who and what they really are. So take away the outside influences, take away the fear that you may have, take away any of the blocks that you may have, take away the past thing that has happened that has made you stuck in this way. And these are all things that you can design with a spread, or if you go free flow, you can just channel. And then this is what you're left with. This is who you really are. And a lot of the time it's about permission. And giving yourself permission. And sometimes we just need someone else to sit and witness and hold a mirror up for us and be like, all right, you're going to give yourself permission? Because if you're waiting for it, I'll give it to you. But, you really should give it to yourself because it's all here. So for authenticity's sake, it's like allowing yourself a bit of reflection, and knowing ourselves is the most important and most underrated. I mean, know thyself, right? I mean, it's so important to just be like, this is honestly who I am and honestly what I want, and everything else is a construct. And I can get through, logistics and timing, and all that sort of stuff can work itself out. But it's quite a gift if you can give yourself the space. And all readers are different, by the way, as well. So we may read in a very similar way, which it sounds like we do, but not everyone does. So if you're new to the tarot and you stumbled across this, do a little bit of research on how your reader works, because some of them will just literally be the fortune telling type. And I do predictive tarot, but I also dig real deep. So it depends on what kind of reader you want. Yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that heads up too for newbies. So finally, I wanted to, I had asked you at one point if there was anything that you wanted to talk about related to authenticity, and you had said, just the ability to not give a fuck. That really helps. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's a complete gift to just not. There's that book that's been out for ages, like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I'm like, I could have written that. Like, like, I mean, the thing is that I've always said to people, even when my good friends come to me, a friend has come to me recently because we've had some horrible news in her family. And, everyone's weighing in on what she should be doing. And, a lot of it's out of love. A lot of the time we do that out of love. And I always say, you know what, who cares what anyone else thinks, says, does? You're the one who's going to have to wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and deal with the person who is staring back at you. You're the one who's going to have to know that you cannot get that time back. You're the one who is going to have to live with who you are as a human being. And if we constantly give a shit about what everyone else is thinking, we are going to be living for them always. And we're never going to please them because they're unhappy themselves. So there's all that projection reception thing going on. But just not. And it does take some time, like do little I don't give a fuck exercises if it's not something you're used to, wear an outrageous color one day a week, just like do something like that. Might seem like really big for some people, but for me that'd be pretty small. But wear a colored shirt that you wouldn't normally, or a loud shirt that you wouldn't normally, or loud socks or a tie if you have to incorporate that in. But
and it's like going back to giving permission. Like if you're watching this and thinking, well, I don't know, that seems crazy, I'm giving you permission right now. Go and do it tomorrow, today.
Yeah, because no one else is really going to give you permission to do the things. And it's not being stupid. Like I'm not the type of person who's like, give up your job and like go live the dream, and like then 2 months later you're sinking. It's like, that's not, I would never ever advise anyone to do that. But there are definitely ways that you can move forward, even if it is towards building your own business, or become an album, or whatever it is you're working towards with yourself. It's just carving more time out for the authentic side of you than the side that kind of has to do what it needs to do to be human in this transactional world,
Right.
So yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, I mean, I know in my life I've had people who are like, well, it's well and good for you because you know what you want to do. I have no idea what I want to do. What do we do in those situations, Ethony? What happens if we don't know what we're supposed to be doing, or what we should want to do?
Right, and so many people don't know what they want to do. But I mean, it depends if you believe if things are fated or fixed, or if they are you give yourself purpose. And I did a video on that a while ago. But I believe that we are born with specific talents, strengths, and weaknesses, and then it is up to us to choose what we want to do with that. Because you could do any, I could have gone into, God forbid, politics, like, because I'm out there and abrupt or I'll tell you what to do kind of thing, Hermione Granger. I could have done a lot of things with the strengths, the weaknesses, and the talents that I have. But I have certain interests that I really love. So I believe you get to choose I believe you have callings because they are your talents, they are your strengths, they are things that fill your cup, because they feel good. Like, the more you do what you are good at, the more it feels good. So there's a little bit of psychology behind that. But if you believe that life is fated that you're meant to be doing something, you're almost giving your power away to not do anything with your life to begin with. So take it back. Even if you were meant to be doing something else, when you start down the road, you will get where you're meant to be if you believe in fate. But if you just go, oh, it's fated and I'm just going to like sit back and do nothing, well, then you're taking that power. You're just, giving it away. So start somewhere, enjoy, and then just have fun. Like, enjoy life. Is there really anything better or more pressing than to enjoy right now and to be happy right now? Because nothing's promised, right?
Yeah.
Cheesy, but true.
No, it's super true. And I think that there's, if you don't know what you should be doing, try something new. Keep trying. I remember when I was in a really, really shitty part of my life, and I felt like I was drowning at every moment. And the idea of like hiking up that mountain one step at a time, I was like, I can't even walk right now. How can I take baby steps when I can't even walk? And I found that the thing that helped me get through that was crawling. And sometimes I was blindfolded, metaphorically. Like, I didn't even know where I was going, but I just kept moving. And continuing that momentum is what helped me get to a place where suddenly there were some answers that started being questions that started being answered. But it took a long time, and sometimes you don't know where you're going. But I feel like staying stagnant is only asking for more of the same.
Exactly, because the universe is always going to reflect back to you what you're doing. And even if you are stumbling around in the dark, you are at least moving forward, and then the universe will meet you with some stuff to move forward. And my favorite is just the light of your headlights in your car. You don't need overhead lights. You don't need anything. You can just drive with your headlights, because all you need to know is just a few meters in front of you. So life can sometimes feel like that you're driving in the dark and with the headlights on with nothing else. But as long as you keep going, you don't have to go so fast that you might hit a deer in the middle of the road. But as long as you keep going, you'll find that more lights come on around you, and then you're like, oh, okay, shit's starting to illuminate. So like I can go a little bit faster now. Yeah. But you got it. Momentum is really important. And if you do fall, if you do break, if you have to stop, rest, don't give up, get back on the horse and keep going. Because I think a lot of people in our industries, especially anything soul aligned or authentic, because we do give so much of our heart and soul when so many picked themselves back up and kept on going again. Because I think we lose a lot of people for that as well.
Yeah, it can be really exhausting.
Don't I know it? It can be really exhausting.
Well, thank you so much, Ethony. I really, really appreciate you spending some time with us. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate all talking about authenticity, and I swore a bunch in there. I hope it didn't offend anyone's sensibilities. Yeah, I hope that some of this has been inspirational, and
Absolutely.
thank you so much for holding space.
Of course, my pleasure. One final thing, if you were talking to somebody who felt like they were stuck in their life, or maybe felt like they weren't quite as fulfilled as they could be, but they knew they wanted to change something, what is one piece of advice you would give them?
Get your friends, get dressed up, go out, get laid, have fun, shake it up. Go see a funny movie, go watch a comedian, go get laid. Did I mention that? Just like, the thing is that when we feel as though we're in that stuckness, it's usually from that stagnation point of view, right? So just do something to shake that up in your life, and go find beauty somewhere, go get inspired. And it can be really fucking hard. I'm not saying this to be like, I know everything. Like, I know how hard it can be to get up and be like, all right, now we're going to like have to the effort to like just start that movie again. But really it helps when you can shift the perspective, for sure, and get laid. Safely.
Be safe. Thank you again, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.